Oh, yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SIG Windows meetup. It's the 21st of April, and as always, is a recorded meeting, so please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. Cool. I don't know how many of you guys have noticed, but the release team for 119 has been announced. Actually, one of the intentions that the Kubernetes, let's call it, some of the PM leads and some of the previous release leads had was that, hey, we're going to delay things and we're not going to go ahead and get started on 119 just yet. But from the moment that 118 kind of shipped and the branches were unblocked and unfrozen, people started just, throwing things in there, and then effectively the release just starts at that point. So it makes no sense for anybody to kind of delay things. So essentially things kind of got started. At some point, we're going to have to figure out exactly what kind of updates we plan to make. I know a couple of weeks ago, we kind of talked about enhancements to kubeadm, enhancements to cluster API, enhancements to CSI proxy, potentially looking at image builder and seeing what kind of work we're going to do there. And Jocelyn and Maz kind of volunteered to kind of look at that work. So there's a lot of things that are up in the balance right now, mainly because of resourcing that we have to think about. But as you guys are starting to navigate that, make sure that you're aware of Kubernetes 119 and some of the milestones. I'm going to mention them here in a second as well. So I'll share. I'm going to put this on the notes as well. But this is the 119 release leads. So if you have any questions on 119, you need to tag someone. Well, that's for cherry picking, and that's actually important. So if you want to cherry pick something in 118 or 117, these are the folks that we need to go to. Okay. By the way, after the snafu last week, I had to actually put only voice in the recording on YouTube. So I couldn't put the video since I shared something incorrectly. Lesson learned from Michael. Cool. And then that's it for 119. Any questions or any concerns? Okay, cool. Next one is, I believe, Mark, that's you, 11809 and 2019 nano server support extended to, you added that?
Yep. Muzz, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So, so the good news is we have extended the nano server support, which was expiring on May 12th, to extend it for another 6 months. So it's not going to be expiring on May 22nd or whatever the date was. It has been extended for 6 months. Now, I want to make sure that this is not the final extension. We are looking at, Mark and I and Craig are all working towards making the case of how important nano server images are for Kubernetes community. They're looking at from different angles and how we should extend it further until the next LTSC is available. But we're looking at all the options and nothing is decided right now. But I want to make sure that this is not the final extension. We're still looking to see what should be the next steps when 6 months pass. What would happen to the existing nano server images, folks who are using it, or test infrastructure, all those kind of things. So that's good news, and we'll let you know about the progress as soon as we have something.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Maz. All right. The next item was Kayla. You want to talk a little about the endpoint slice work?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Talia, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay, so basically Rob Scott contacted me from Google a couple weeks ago about the endpoint slice work. So that needs to be implemented in Windows Kube proxy as well. And we're talking to someone from the networking team within Microsoft to take that on. So we'll have more status on that in a week. And beyond just that, so what I've been noticing is that since the IPVS and IP tables kube proxy code bases share a lot of common code, that whenever updates go into like the Linux kube proxies, they don't make it into Windows because we have our own code. So someone did a refactor for Linux so that they would share everything, but that didn't also happen with Windows, or it didn't happen with Windows in mind. So that's a project that if someone is looking for something to contribute to 119 or 120, like anyone can take that up. So what this would mean is that like the basic kube proxy code, just in terms of like how we handle endpoint updates, etc., would all follow like the same common code, so that in the future things like endpoint slices, etc., would just automatically like have Windows included. So if someone wants to take that up, I'm more than willing to like review PRs and work with Rob with you and like help explain anything. So yeah, just let me know.
Someone from Google, and I don't see Peter on right now. Okay, Peter is on. Hey, Peter, do you guys have any engineering resources that could take a look at this, since this kind of initiated from your end as well?
This is the first I've heard about this, and yeah, our team doesn't really have networking expertise or resources for this right now, but we can keep it in mind, sure.
Yeah, so Rob from Google reached out to us for help. Like he needs SIG Windows help to get this done.
I guess the only team that actually has networking expertise in this case is Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
So
He actually has a pretty good handle on the networking, but I know he's busy with other things.
yeah. And I know, well, Ben Moss and Deep, they definitely do have some of that expertise. But Mark, can we check with Dinesh and see if we can get someone to take a look at this?
Yeah, Craig and I can follow up with Dinesh.
Okay. I'm adding a note here as well. What's the timeline that we need this? If, like, you know, what would be a reasonable timeline? Go ahead.
The enhancement PR is targeted for 119 for the endpoint slice API feature as a whole.
But we don't have to have it in Windows for 119, right? What will happen if we don't? What will happen if we don't have that support in Windows?
I think it'll be fine, but I think it would just be better if we had it in 119, so that we can kind of be on the same cadence as Linux.
Yeah.
We'll probably need to document that this isn't supported for Windows currently.
Yeah.
Is the open question to have an ETA about that, or finding out who is working on it?
I think mainly it was brought up here to see if there's anybody who was interested in contributing to that.
Kalia, is it the feature that we discussed about on Slack? Or is it different?
Yeah, it is. So Vinod has already sort of
okay. Sorry, I'm reconnecting the dot on it now. So yes, we have someone, and I don't know the timeline. We basically were asking him on Slack, so hopefully he should be able to reply by, fairly soon. He's with Rob on the Slack channel, on the private Slack channel. I haven't seen any ETA from him yet, but we definitely have someone assigned to that work.
Yeah, that's really good news, Jocelyn. If you can you just shoot us the name whenever you find it, and that way we can add it on the notes as well.
Oh, his name is Vinod.
Vinod.
A.L. Swami. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the next item, which is list container paging support. Mark and Maz.
Yeah, I think this is an ask that Muzz has been getting, is to update the CRI APIs to be able to add pagination support for some of the operations. I think this was brought up here because neither Muzz nor I have much kind of experience working with SIG node, and we just wanted to kind of sanity check or validate this idea before we open an issue or enhancement request against SIG node to support this. Is that correct, Muzz?
So essentially, we're asking here that the SIG node goes ahead to add new support in the CRI spec for pagination as a result of customer feedback that you guys are getting on the CRI Windows work, correct?
That is true. So yeah, customers are running into, especially the advanced customers start running into this when they cannot, without the paging, when they run the cry-ctl ps command and it's not pageable, they are not able to see the results. So we need to go to SIG and uh, make them or convince them to make the change in the SIG node. I wanted to bring it here because the SIG windows should be aware, and then also I need to understand like how can we convince the SIG node community.
Yeah, that everybody's having a little bit of a tough time with SIG node being let's say overwhelmed with requests, and their capacity is just not where it should be. So we're having trouble across the board there. Can I ask you a question? What kind of operations are they looking for pagination? Is it like, for example, statistics, metrics? Is it about pods? Like, what are some of the requests, endpoints? What are some of the requests that they're looking for this pagination that becomes a problem at scale?
So far, we have seen the list containers and list pods that run into this issue. I can get exactly more data from customer on what they were, but what we have seen so far is people are trying to get list containers, list pods, and the density is too much, and it goes out of the page and it's not paged.
But Kubernetes, what's the maximum support? 500 pods in a node? Is that the number? I forgot the scale limit. So, what at what numbers are they hitting this problem with CRI containerd? I mean, I would assume like if it's 500 or 1,000, it should not be a problem that requires pagination.
Yeah, I can get data to you and like put that. I've created an issue. I can post those numbers there, so if that helps.
Yeah, that will help because
Okay.
we can actually talk about in real numbers, like especially when you're talking to Node, you have to give them kind of what's the numbers that we're looking for.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I have created the issue. I don't know if you have posted. I posted as a comment in there.
Yeah, I added it. It's
Yeah.
the issue
Okay.
9340.
Yeah.
Yeah, I added
So
it.
I'll add it as a comment there, and then which SIG was. So should I assign it to SIG node?
Yeah.
Okay. And once we have the data, or Michael, what do you recommend as the next step should be?
I think we can after that. Once we have the data, the best way that I've seen work with SIG node is to basically go and sit down with them and go attend their meeting and put in the agenda and talk about it. So put in the agenda, make sure they accept it, and then basically attend their meeting. I believe I'm actually trying to scour through the docs right now to figure out what the limit is. It looks to be like 500 pods per node. So
Okay, I will. Yeah, I'll get the exact data from the. Yeah, I'll get the exact data from the users who are running into this.
yeah, so make sure that whatever number you have does not exist what the maximum Kubernetes is. So yeah, I'll give you the. I actually found the link. I'll put it here on Zoom as well.
Right.
This is the link of the max numbers that Kubernetes supports today for large clusters. So no more than 150,000 total pods, but that's across 5,000 nodes.
Right.
So in a single node is 100 pods. And I've seen threads where they're trying to increase that to 500 pods per node, but 100 is the limit. So when you actually go and create this this node to the Kubernetes SIG Windows team, SIG node team, make sure that if you go and say, hey, well, we'd like to support 1,000 pods on that node, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. No, I understand. But I think even within the limit, wouldn't we run into the problem if you have even like 90 pods?
I mean, so here's how I view it, right? And it depends on who your consumer is. If, for example, I'm trying to build a user interface that will manage Kubernetes and Kubernetes nodes, and then I'm asking for data all the time, yes, pagination is very important, right? Because I want to get the data in a way that's consumable. But that works, that's really necessary when you're looking at log, right? When it's at 18,000 results. If it's only 100, you can get 100 in memory and just list them any way you want or slice and dice it, right? So that's why, the reason why we might want this pagination is going to be very important. That's why I asked initially for metrics. Are you looking at metrics? Because you can get hundreds and thousands of metrics, right? If you're looking at a big interval. So it's important to understand where this is going to be needed so you can build the right business case. Otherwise, SIG node will not accept it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's fair. Okay. Let me get that data, put that in there, and then we'll go to SIG node. I'm glad everybody here knows that, because I think it will affect all the customers eventually.
Yep.
But I'll get the data. Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. And the last topic on our agenda is Containerd Hyper-V.
Yeah, I added that. That was an update that I wanted to give for Containerd. So in order to support targeting different OS versions with Hyper-V isolation, we needed to have a way to pass in the runtime to the to Containerd during image pull time to make sure that we can get the right pause or infra container started. And so there was an enhancement or a document that went out that is linked to in that pull request to describe that, and that PR implements it. And I think that's one of the next steps needed for Hyper-V support. So if anybody is interested, please take a look.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I know that Containerd are trying to make advancements in 1.19. Where do you think Hyper-V may land, like Hyper-V isolation?
So I'm not sure about that. So one of the reasons why I was prioritizing this early in the 1.19 release is because after this, Containerd needs to do a bunch of work in order to consume those annotations and do this work. So I wanted to unblock the folks at Microsoft who would be working on Containerd. I think that it largely depends on the scope of that. We may be able to get something like testable in 1.19, but I don't think it's going to be stable per se.
Got it. Yeah, it's like a alpha release. There's not a lot of expectations for alpha release other than I can test it for some basic scenarios under a lot of constraints.
Potentially an alpha release may be doable. We need to look at the dates for everything then.
Okay.
But I can provide an update probably in one of the next meeting or two.
By the way, 1.19, they are actually, in addition to some of the things I mentioned earlier, they're trying to also have an extended timeline. So the release date is going to be 15 weeks rather than 12. So they're adding an extra 3 weeks. The PR is not approved yet. I added it on the notes. It's PR 1058 under SIG release. But
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look.
yeah, so they're adding an extended timeline. So have that in mind. So if we needed a little bit more time, we definitely have it for 119.
Okay. Yeah, I'll report back and see if an alpha release would be doable for 119. It may be.
Sounds good. Cool. All right. So that's all the topics that we had for today. Any questions, concerns from anybody? Anybody working on anything cool that they want to report to?
I don't know. I just wanted to bring up last time we talked about the supporting the 2 SAC version and 1 LTSC version, and I think Mark created an issue on that. If there is any follow up there.
I noticed there wasn't too many comments. I think Peter commented and asked if it would be possible to support 1 SAC and 1 LTSC, and then add some comments about test capacity, because one of the things that I wanted to do when we define which OSs are supported would be to set a little bit of expectations about what support actually means and what testing there is.
And I'm putting the thread here on the chat just in case anybody doesn't have it. That's issue 90142. And my comment on the meeting was that we needed to support 2 SAC releases, 2 SACs, because of the fact that Kubernetes could release right after the latest SAC release, or like a couple of months later, and folks may not have had either the capacity, or like when I say folks, I mean our customers may not have had the bandwidth or the capacity to upgrade just yet. So it is possible that it would be advantageous for us to support the last 2, for example.
I wonder if we could help mitigate that by just as a community kind of picking or like setting or defining which SAC releases we support, and then not jumping to the latest one if the delta between the SAC release and the Kubernetes release are too close. But,
so I agree with you, but here's one problem. I've seen this in both situations. There are customers still on 114 of Kubernetes. They don't upgrade Kubernetes often. And maybe for Windows, they upgrade a little bit more often because we're moving at a faster pace, but they definitely don't do it for Linux, right? And then, so we have 2 kind of islands that are almost immovable. The people that stay on an LTSC, they don't move, and the people that get a Kubernetes solid production environment, they don't want to move it often, right? So both of those become a problem. So let's say that we stay, let's say Kubernetes 119 ships, right? And we say, hey, we're only going to support SAC release 1903, just to give an example, or 1909. Then some folks might stay on that Kubernetes version for a while, but they might decide to update their SAC release. So what do you do at that point? So I don't know if there's a good plan or a good release or a good mechanism here. But for us, other than the fact that it costs us a little bit more in testing to test with 1 more SAC release, and the fact that we have a lot of flexibility in terms of, hey, run your tests one day with 1 release, another day with another release, the last day with another release, I think that just gives us flexibility. If we want to support 3, we could. I mean, the added cost is not a lot.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think we just need to look at what those costs are and get concrete about that, figure out how we shoulder those. So
yeah, I think Adelina was going to give us some of those numbers, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Adelina was working on an analysis of the improvements for using the Nano server.
Can you guys hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Now we can, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I was, as Fred said, I was looking at Nano and what we might improve with that. In terms of what we were saying, Michael, that we can run one day with 1 release the other day with another, and so on. That's not, I mean, it's not necessarily as trivial the way the tests are set up right now. In the sense, I mean, I guess we can do that if we time the intervals properly, but having it change, I mean, actually changing the image, I'm assuming that's what you propose, changing the image every day, the one that you would use.
Absolutely. So I'm basically talking about, we have a set of test cases and they pick an image both for the node as well as for the containers, right? And have that be a kind of a proxy so that the actual image that you target every day is a different one, and we can change it in automation that way, like that way it just rotates, and both the node and the container images, once they get updated, and all the test cases will run based on a different version of the OS.
Yeah. So for the test images, that's actually not the most of the problem, because they already have. I mean, we can already package the manifest list, everything, and they would pick up whatever version is needed. But for the host, the way the automation works right now, that might not be that trivial, but
are the hosts already pre-populated? You don't
no.
You build them on the fly?
Yeah. We build them on the fly. Let's say the problem would be the fact that the image is specified in the template that we feed to AKS engine, right? So that's a static file. Now, we may be able to wrap the job somehow that it changes the image version, but I don't know exactly if
yeah, we don't need to design it here, Adelina.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe after you finish some of the work with the Nano server,
Mm-hmm.
we can take a look at this and see if there's an optimization that we can make. I think ultimately there is a system somewhere that reads a value from something else, and maybe the static file in AKS that basically dictates what kind of test to run. If there's a way for us to interject that process and basically go in a round-robin manner to select a different option, that would be very helpful. And you guys can take a look at it, and we can discuss it another time.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's definitely continue this conversation, I think, for next week. Yeah.
Yeah, Maz, I'll add it to the agenda for next week again.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, and it looks like we're out of time. Thank you all for attending. I'll see you all in a week. Please stay safe, and hit us up if you have any questions or concerns or need any help. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.